2. Job 15. 10-15. 1 Co 9. 21. This law governs the Israel of God, his spiritual nation. G 6. 16. 1 Pe 2. 9. Christ, however, did not originate these laws, but got them from the great lawgiver, Jehovah. Job 14. 10. Moses. Although the Bible repeatedly mentions the law of Moses, Job 8. 31, 32. 1 Chi 2. 3. 2 Ch 23. 18. 30. 16. It also acknowledges Jehovah as the actual lawgiver and Moses as only his instrument and representative in giving the law to Israel. 2 Ch 34. 14. Even angels had a share in representing God in this matter, for the law was transmitted through angels by the hand of a mediator. Nevertheless, Moses, being Jehovah's appointed mediator of the covenant between God and Israel, is spoken of as if he were the lawgiver. G 3. 19. Heb 2. 2. Human rulers as lawgivers. God has not established worldly human governments nor given them their authority, but he has allowed them to exist and has removed them and permitted new ones to come up as it suited his purpose. D 32. 8. Da 4. 35. 5. 26-31. Act 17. 26. Row 13. When some of these rulers become lawgivers to their nation, state, or community. But their laws and statutes are proper only if made within the framework of and in harmony with the law of the great lawgiver, Jehovah God. The famous British jurist Sir William Blackstone said, with reference to God's law governing natural things, "It is binding over all the globe, in all countries, and at all times. No human laws are of any validity, o textui acute miritra longo." Lazarus 225 exhibit love for their neighbor, speaking against him instead, were, in effect, setting themselves up as judges of divine law, as lawgivers or lawmakers. The Apostle Paul had given similar counsel in his letter to the Romans concerning some who were judging others on the basis of such things as what they ate and drank. Who are you to judge the house servant of another? To his own master he stands or falls. Indeed, he will be made to stand, for Jehovah can make him stand. Row 14. 4. In the light of the foregoing, how can Paul's instructions with regard to a serious case of fornication in the congregation at Corinth be viewed? He said, "I for one, although absent in body but present in spirit, have certainly judged already, as if I were present, the man who has worked in such a way as this. Do you not judge those inside, while God judges those outside? Remove the wicked man from among yourselves." He then spoke of judging matters of this life and of those that they put in as judges for themselves. 1 Co 5. 1-3, 12, 13. 6. 3, 4. Compare Job 7. 24. With authority vested in him as an apostle of Jesus Christ, Paul had responsibility for the cleanness and welfare of the congregations. 2 Co 1. 1. 11. 28. So he wrote to those who by appointment of the governing body had authority in the congregation. Act 14. 23. 16. 4, 5. 1-3. 1-13. 5. 22. They were responsible for keeping the congregation in good standing, as pure in God's sight. These men, in sitting in judgment in the case mentioned, which was an open and flagrant violation of God's law, would not be making themselves judges of the law of God, nor would they be making laws according to their will. They would not be going beyond the boundaries of God-given law. They would be acting according to the law given by the great statute giver, denouncing fornication as unclean. Practices of such uncleanness could not enter God's kingdom, according to God's law. 1 Co 6. 9, 10. They were not fit to remain in association with the congregation of Christ. Yet even then the men responsible for the cleanness of the congregation, by expelling unclean ones, were not executing the penalty that God the lawgiver himself would execute on those unrepentantly continuing to follow such a course, namely, death. Row 1. 24-27, 32. Paul also calls to the attention of Christians that the holy ones will judge the world and that we shall judge angels. Here he is speaking, not of the present time, but of the future, when those who reign in the kingdom with Christ will serve as heavenly judges, administering the law of God and executing judgment on wicked ones. 1 Co 6. 1-3. Re 20. 6. Compare 1 Co 4. 8. Moses' blessing of Gad. In Moses' blessing of the tribes of Israel just before his death, as to Gad he said, "Blessed is the one widening the borders of Gad. And he Gad will pick out the first part for himself, for there the allotment of a statute giver is reserved." 33. 20, 21. This use of the term statute giver may have the following meaning. Most of the tribes had their inheritance assigned to them by lot, under the direction of Joshua and Eleazar the high priest. But, shortly after the defeat of the Midianites, the tribe of Gad, along with Reuben, had requested land near the Jordan River. Since these tribes had much livestock, the land was well suited for them. Moses heard their request favorably and granted them this part of the land. New 32. 1-5, 20-22, 28. Hence, their portion was in allotment of a statute giver, Moses, the lawgiver to Israel. Lawlessness. See man of lawlessness. Laying on of hands. See hand. Lazarus Lazar probably the gr. Form of the Heb. Name Eleazar, meaning God has helped. 1. The brother of Martha and Mary. His resurrection was one of the outstanding miracles performed by Jesus Christ. Joe 11. 1, 2. Jesus had a deep love for this family living at Bethany, about 2 miles from Otextoi acute Miritra Longo. Lazarus 226. That they the crowd present might believe that you sent me forth. Joe 11. 38-42. Jesus then called the dead Lazarus out of the tomb, and he emerged, undoubtedly to the astonishment and joy of those present. Joe 11. 43, 44. This miracle moved many to put faith in Jesus, but it also caused the chief priests and Pharisees to plot his death. The anger of the chief priests was further aroused when a great crowd of Jews came to see not only Jesus, but also the resurrected Lazarus. Because of Lazarus, many Jews were putting faith in Jesus, and so the chief priests took counsel to kill Lazarus also. Joe 11. 45-53. 12. 1-11. However, there is no biblical evidence to the effect that these religious foes carried out their evil plans against Lazarus. John's account of the resurrection of Lazarus has been assailed by some critics of the Bible. They point to the silence of the other gospel accounts regarding this event. A consideration of the various gospels will show, however, that even the writers of the synoptic gospels did not each recount every deed of Jesus. For example, only Luke reported the raising of the son of the widow of Nain. Luke 7. 11-15. John did not customarily repeat what others had recorded. The resurrection of Lazarus is a notable instance of this. This miracle of Lazarus' resurrection served well as part of Jesus' ministry, both to illustrate the power of the Son of God and to increase faith in him and the resurrection. Joe 11. 4, 41, 42. It evidently occurred near the beginning of the year 33 CE. The scriptures do not furnish information as to the circumstances, place, or time of Lazarus' death after his resurrection. See resurrection. Resurrections before ransom was given. There is no biblical statement nor any reason to link the historical Lazarus with the beggar of Jesus' illustration of the rich man and Lazarus. 2. The name given to the beggar in Jesus' illustration commonly known as the parable of the rich man and Lazarus. Luke 16. 19-31. In the Vulgate the word rich has been rendered by the Latin adjective dives, which is often mistakenly used as the proper name of the rich man. However, the Jewish name Lazarus itself was common in ancient times, a fact borne out by Ashuri inscriptions. In the parable, the Lazarus beggar, Lazarus, was put at the gate of the rich man, desiring to be fed with the things that fell from the rich man's sumptuous table. Lazarus subsequently died and was carried off by angels to the bosom position of Abraham, a place comparable to that occupied by a person in ancient times when he reclined in front of another on the same couch during a meal. Abraham had a conversation with the rich man, who had also died, was buried, and was in Hades, existing in torments. A great chasm that could not be crossed separated the rich man from Abraham and Lazarus. The rich man's request that Abraham send Lazarus to his 5 brothers to give them a thorough witness, in the hope of sparing them the same experience, met with rejection on the grounds that these had Moses and the prophets, and, if unwilling to listen to them, neither will they be persuaded if someone rises from the dead. See illustrations. For Jesus' illustration of the rich man and Lazarus, did he draw on rabbinic beliefs concerning the dead? Teachers and students of comparative religion have in some cases suggested that in giving this illustration, Jesus Christ drew upon the ancient rabbinic concept and teaching regarding the underworld. Josephus furnishes the following information regarding the then current view of the Pharisees in this regard. They believe that souls have power to survive death and that there are rewards, and o textui acute miritra longo, laziness 227 laziness. Disinclination or aversion to effort or work. Idleness. Indolence. Slothfulness. Sluggishness. The Hebrew verb amidal.zal means be sluggish. JG 18. 9. The adjective related to this verb is translated lazy one. PR 6. 6. The Greek word omidal.k-middle.ros means sluggish, slothful. Mount 25. 26. Row 12. 11. Int another term, no middle.throws, means sluggish, dull. Heb 5. 11. 6. 12. Jehovah and his Son, as the 2 greatest workers, hate laziness. Jesus said, "My Father has kept working until now, and I keep working." Job 5. 17. Throughout God's word the lazy